Good morning. So today we're going to talk a little bit about diagnosing problems with art files and more specifically diagnosing art files when we see that we're getting an improper cut. So for instance here, this is a submitted file here, and as we can tell, the entire shape is white. Now that's even with, I click with my pointer tool up here, I click on the name of the part, click off, and the image is white. This is a problem when it comes to design because we obviously don't want to see this. And the reason I say obviously is if you look at the other videos that we present on the site, we notice that all of the shapes that we tend to see are red or yellow. And in Sheetcam, yellow represents inside shapes and red represents outside shapes. Let's talk about why that's so important. In Sheetcam, when we go to actually cut this out, let's go ahead and cut this out. Operation, plasma cut. I'm just going to go with my generic setup here. I just hit OK on whatever tools that I happen to have. And based off of this, we have a couple of things going on here. These blue lines represent start points here. And as you may have difficulty seeing here, is there are actually two start points. One blue start point there, and it looks like there's an end point there and maybe a start point there. Actually, no, both start points are down here. Let's take a look. I'm going to remove the green fill here. So we have start point 1 and start point 2, and we notice that they're actually separated, which is a little bit of a problem. I mean, we can't have two start points on one shape. That would mean that it's trying to recognize this as two different shapes, and we can tell that by, let's go ahead and unselect our operation here so we can see the shape. We see here we have a what we call thick white dot here and a thick white dot present at this corner. So we have two sets of thick white dots. This means that these are endpoints. So if we're to go into our CAD, we could probably find this degree of separation in our part. We'll have to take a look pretty close here, but we're going to go ahead and take a look at that. Let's go ahead and open up QCAD here. Opening up QCAD, just based off of the look on the part, if I were to look, it looks like they're connected. However, because we have this extension or this overlap, we're going to have some problems here. Oh, look at that. We have a little bit of extension down at the bottom here. Before I go and fix that, I want to show you another reason why this is a detrimental thing to have happen here. I'm just going to toss in a 1-inch, two 1-inch diameter circles on here. We're just going to go 1 and 2 for the sake of this, and we're going to go ahead and save it. We're going to go ahead and save that, and we're going to open it up in Sheetcam. So I went ahead and opened this up in Sheetcam, and as you can tell, we have our two 1-inch circles, and they're represented with the color red. And red represents an outside shape. So if we were to put an operation on here, so we've selected the bracket here, operation, plasma cut. I'm just going to go ahead and make sure I'm still on outside offset. And take a look at that. Let me go ahead and dramatize this a little bit. We're going to increase my lead in and lead out to, I don't know, 0.25 maybe? Yeah. Just so you can see what's going on. So now you can tell in this particular screen that the lead in, lead out is coming in from the outside of these circles, and that's definitely not something we want. Now the reason for this is because since this outside shape doesn't actually represent an outside shape. Since it's just a line, and a line doesn't have an inside or an outside, we'll see here that these are the true shapes in this piece of art, and it's going to try to cut in from the outside of this shape. Because this is an outside shape, and this is just a series of lines, not connected. Let's show you the difference here. We're going to go into QCAD here, and I'm going to go down to this bottom here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the line here, and I'm going to click close to, but not actually, you know, I can probably grab this red piece here. Yep, I clicked and dragged on the blue line here, and I'm going to find this intersection point and click on it. That should bring my end to the end of this line. The end of this line to the end of this line, which is good. And we're going to do the same thing down here. We're going to click, and I'm going to click and drag the red piece, the red dot, and go to intersection and click to place my intersection. In that way, I now have these points connected. I'm going to go ahead and file save that. Yep, and we're going to bring it into Sheetcam. Alright, so here we are. I brought in this third part here, and you'll notice that it has a red outside and a yellow inside. That means that it's recognizing this red outline as the outside shape. So once we connected these corners, it actually fixed this problem. So let's go ahead and actually put an operation on here, see how that's going to react, because that's the important thing about these shapes. Okay. So I extended my lead in, lead out to 0.25, and you'll notice that because this outside shape is now a shape instead of a line, we see that it's going to cut this red from the outside like we want it to. It means that it's putting that blade width. I'm going to remove this width here and show this width here. This white line represents the CAD file, so it's going to cut from the outside of this shape here, which looks great. And then if we go up here, it's going to cut from the inside of the inside shape. And let's go ahead and compare and contrast all of this here. We'll go to nesting tool and we can see all the different files. So this file here, this second file where we didn't fix the outside shape, but we put two inside shapes, and I use that loosely here because the outside isn't actually a shape. So from here we can see that it's trying to cut from the outside of the shape because this is an actual shape. Now because lines don't have an inside or an outside, this is actually cutting along the line. You'll notice over here on this side here we have things cutting along the outside of this line as opposed to on the line. And this part here, of course, doesn't have an operational, so let's go ahead and put an operation on there so we can just see that one there. Boom. All right. And again, just as the one next to it, these two files are both cutting along the line because they are lines and not shapes. By completing and making sure we have the connected points, they become full shapes. And it'll finally recognize offset, so outside versus inside. So there you have it. Completing shapes ensures that we actually have proper cut paths made. Yes, it may look correct, but that doesn't mean that it's going to cut correctly. You may lose anywhere from a 1/16 to an 1/8 of an inch off of a cut by not doing this correctly. So make sure you double check your files, make sure that you don't have, and we're going to turn this off here, make sure you don't have these thick white dots as points on your part, unless of course it's intentional, where you're trying to add a line as a point to add definition to a shape. So keep all of that in mind. We're going to go ahead and close this up here, but that is how you deal with incomplete shapes and the reasons why we want to always complete our shapes.